Have you ever thought that a powerful female billionaire, living in skyscrapers, could be powerless against her daughter's smile? What could make a beautiful, talented girl suddenly become silent and afraid of the world? And if you were a poor musician, would you dare step into their lives just to awaken a forgotten note? Imagine a surprising moment. A piano key resonates, and their whole world begins to change. Sounds like a dream, right? But that is the story we are about to explore today. Have you ever witnessed someone ignite a passion for a loved one? Hit subscribe and watch this emotional journey with true millionaire moments. In the heart of Midtown New York, where glass buildings shimmer under the June sun, BioNova's office occupies the entire 50th floor of a modern skyscraper. Vivian Caldwell, a 40-year-old billionaire, sits behind a mahogany desk, her sharp blue eyes gliding over the computer screen. As CEO of BioNova, a leading biotechnology company, Vivian has transformed medical research into a million-dollar empire from scratch. With her short-cut brown hair, cold demeanor, and perfectly tailored gray suit, she is the epitome of success. But behind that perfect exterior is a heavy heart. Vivian closes her laptop, her gaze falling on a photo frame on the desk. A 14-year-old girl, beautiful with big, round brown eyes. But her smile is faint. That's Ava, her daughter, a child who once shone like the sun, now silent like a shadow. 2 years ago, Ava suddenly changed, becoming less talkative, afraid of crowds, and refusing to play the piano, something that once was her greatest joy. Vivian has taken Ava to every psychologist, top expert in Manhattan, but no one could help. Social anxiety, they said, but no one could explain why. Vivian banned Ava from playing the piano, hoping she would focus on her studies, escaping that invisible fear. But every night, she heard the stealthy sounds of piano keys emanating from Ava's room, like a cry for help she couldn't comprehend. That day, after a tense meeting with the shareholders, Vivian decided to take Ava out for a change of atmosphere. Central Park glowed under the sunshine. Lush green trees swayed in the breeze. Ava, in a simple white dress, walked beside her mother, but her eyes were glued to the ground, as if the whole world was staring at her. Vivian held her daughter's hand, trying to produce a smile. "Look, Ava, summer here is beautiful. I think you'll like it." But Ava just nodded slightly, saying nothing as usual. Then, unexpectedly, Ava stopped. Her gaze turned towards a corner of the park. A small, old building with a sign that read, "Brooklyn Community Music School," appeared amid the foliage. The windows were wide open, revealing cheerful piano melodies. Before Vivian could react, Ava slipped from her mother's hand, quickly moving towards it, as if music was calling her. "Ava, wait for me," Vivian called, but the girl had already run off. Inside the music school, the atmosphere was warm and chaotic. The peeling walls were covered with children's drawings, and an old piano stood in the center of the room, its ivory keys yellowed. Ethan Brooks, 27 years old, stood next to the piano, his brown hair tousled, wearing a faded blue shirt, but his smile as radiant as sunshine. He was instructing a group of children, his voice full of energy. "Come on, guys, play louder. Let the whole park hear it." Ava stood at the door, her hands clenched tightly, her eyes fixed on the piano. She wanted to touch it, but fear gripped her chest. 2 years ago, during a school performance, she had stood frozen on stage, forgetting the notes because of her classmates' bullying. The mocking laughter from the audience still echoed in her mind. Ava trembled, taking a step back, but Ethan noticed her. He approached, his voice gentle. "Hey, do you like the piano? Want to try a note? Just one note, no judgment here." Ava shook her head, but Ethan's eyes were warm, patient, as if he understood her fear. "My name's Ethan," he said, sitting down by the piano. "I bet you can play better than me. I'll play badly first, and then you can correct it, okay?" He hit an off-key note, deliberately making it wrong, and grimaced comically. Ava unexpectedly let out a small laugh for the first time that day. She took a deep breath, stepped forward, her fingers trembling as they touched the keys. A clear piano note rang out, simple but strong, like opening a locked door. Just then, Vivian walked in, breathing heavily. She was stunned to see Ava by the piano, her daughter's face showing a rare hint of radiance. "Ava, what are you doing here?" Vivian called, her voice cold, but her eyes stopped on Ethan. He stood up, smiling friendly. "Hello, I'm Ethan Brooks, a teacher here. She just tried a note. She's very talented." Vivian frowned, taking Ava's hand. "We don't need a piano. Let's go, Ava." But as Vivian tried to pull her daughter away, Ava turned back, her eyes lingering on the piano. Ethan watched them leave, saying nothing, but his smile contained a resolve. Vivian, her mind in turmoil, didn't know that moment had sown a seed that would change their lives forever. Could a single note break Ava's wall of silence? And who was that poor musician, daring to step into the world of a female billionaire? Join True Millionaire Moments to explore this emotional story. Do you think Ava will dare return to the piano? Where are you enjoying this story from? Texas, Alaska, or somewhere else in the world? Share in the comments and hit subscribe to not miss the next part. Every viewer like you is a flame lighting up heart-stirring journeys. The next day, under the scorching New York sun, Vivian Caldwell stepped into the BioNova office, her mind unsettled after the unexpected moment at the music school. She sat behind her ebony desk, twirling a silver pen, trying to focus on the shareholder report. But the image of Ava, a rare, radiant face by the piano, continued to haunt her. Vivian reminded herself, "I can't let her get too deep into that. The piano only causes Ava pain." 2 years ago, she had witnessed her daughter break down on the school stage, standing silently as friends bullied her, deliberately making her forget a note. The mocking laughter from the audience cut into Vivian's heart like a knife. And she still remembered Ava's eyes, filled with tears but unable to cry, as she stepped off the stage. She had spent thousands of dollars bringing Ava to top Manhattan psychologists, from luxurious offices on the Upper East Side to renowned experts in Greenwich Village. But no one could help her daughter speak or laugh like before. "Social anxiety," they said. But Vivian didn't believe that was the whole truth. She banned Ava from the music school, instructing the housekeeper, Mrs. Rosa, to watch over her closely. But Vivian had no idea that, in another corner of Brooklyn, Ava was preparing to do something she'd never dared to do: break the rules. The Brooklyn Community Music School was bustling, but today it carried the heavy air of summer. The patchy walls were covered with children's paintings, a few old ceiling fans clattered noisily, and an old piano stood in the middle of the room, its yellowed ivory keys gleaming under the sunlight streaming through the window. The smell of old wood, paper, and a hint of coffee from the corner store lingered in the air. Ethan Brooks, 27, was wiping the piano keys, whistling a cheerful tune, though his eyes looked distant, as if lost in memories. 10 years ago, he had been a piano prodigy, performing on big stages. But when his father died in a car accident, every note became a source of pain. Ethan quit playing piano, living quietly, only teaching music to pay the rent for his rundown Brooklyn apartment. Zoe Turner, the music school's manager and Ethan's close friend, walked in, holding a coffee cup. "Hey, prodigy. What did you do yesterday that the whole park is buzzing about the brown-haired girl playing one piano note?" Zoe teased, raising an eyebrow mischievously. Ethan chuckled, his voice somber. "That girl has talent, Zoe. She's just scared. I've seen those eyes before. Like mine when my father..." He stopped, shaking his head. Zoe placed a hand on his shoulder, her voice gentle. "Hey, don't think too much. You're doing great, saving the world with piano." Ethan laughed, but inside, a determination sparked. He wanted to help that girl, just as he once wished someone would help him. Ava, in a gray hoodie covering her face, slipped out of the house while Mrs. Rosa was busy preparing lunch. She walked through the crowded streets of Brooklyn, her heart pounding, each step a battle against fear. The mocking laughter from the performance 2 years ago still echoed, trying to pull her back. She remembered standing on stage, the blinding lights, friends deliberately making her forget the notes, and the laughter from the audience washing over her like waves. Ava had closed herself off since then, with no friends, no conversations, only the piano in her room where she dared to be herself. "I shouldn't be here," Ava whispered, standing before the music school's door, her hands gripping the lanyard tightly. But the notes from yesterday, clear and strong, felt like a small flame warming her chest. She took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Ethan looked up, surprised. "Hey, piano girl, you're back, huh?" Ava blushed, mumbling, "I just wanted to watch." Ethan smiled, not forcing her. "Watch all you want, but I bet you want to play more." He sat down at the piano, deliberately playing a note wrong, grimacing. "Oh man, Zoe taught me poorly. Save me." Ava, unable to resist, laughed louder than yesterday, her pure laughter ringing out in the room. Zoe chimed in, feigning indignation. "Hey, Ethan, don't blame me. You used to play worse than my cat, wrecking the whole neighborhood." Ava covered her mouth, but her eyes brightened, her fear melting away in the joyful atmosphere. Ethan gestured for Ava to sit at the piano. "Go on, just a short piece. No one's going to laugh except Zoe, but she laughs at everything." He winked. Ava hesitated, her fingers trembling, but she sat down and touched the keys. She played a short piece, her fingers clumsy yet full of emotion, as if recounting the days locked in silence. Ethan applauded, his voice excited. "See, I knew it. You play better than I did at 14. Ava bowed her head, but a smile formed at the corner of her lips, the first genuine smile in 2 years. Zoe inserted, pretending to be jealous. "Hey Ava, don't get too good, or I'll lose my job to Ethan." The three laughed, and in that moment, Ava felt freed from the shackles of fear. But then, Ava's phone buzzed. A message from Vivian. "Where are you? Come home now." Ava panicked, quickly standing up. "I have to go." Ethan looked at her, his voice soft. "Come back whenever you like, okay? This piano is waiting for you." Ava nodded and ran outside, her heart pounding. She returned home, sneaking into her room, sitting by the window, looking out at the bustling street. Her fingers absent-mindedly tapped a rhythm on the wooden frame, replaying the music from today. But Vivian, who had just arrived home, noticed something unusual. Mrs. Rosa, worried, reported that Ava had gone out for over an hour without explanation. Vivian knocked on Ava's door, her voice firm. "Ava, open up. I need to talk." Ava opened the door, her eyes avoiding. Vivian looked at her daughter, trying to contain her anger. "You went there, didn't you? I made it clear that you're not allowed." Ava remained silent, her hands clenched, as if trying to hold on to the newfound courage. Vivian sighed, her voice softer but trembling. "I just want to protect you. The piano hurt you, Ava. I don't want to see you cry anymore. Do you remember that time on stage you—" She stopped, her eyes blurred as she recalled Ava's eyes 2 years ago. For the first time in 2 years, Ava looked up, her voice small but resolute. "I didn't cry today, Mom." Vivian stood stunned, unsure how to respond. She left the room, her mind confused, haunted by a lingering question. Am I doing this wrong? That night, Vivian opened her laptop, typing Ethan Brooks into the search bar, intent on learning about the musician who had changed her daughter. An old article appeared, its headline startling her. 17-year-old piano prodigy turns down Carnegie Hall after family tragedy. Vivian read, her heart racing, surprised that the struggling teacher had once been a star. But she didn't know that what she was about to discover would turn her world upside down. Will Ava keep sneaking off to the music school, defying her mother's ban? And Ethan, is he really just a teacher? Or is he hiding a greater secret? Join True Millionaire Moments to uncover the next developments. Have you ever secretly done what you love, despite all prohibitions? Share your story in the comments and hit subscribe to never miss a moment. Each of your comments is a note, lighting up this emotional journey. Vivian Caldwell drove through the bustling streets of Brooklyn, filled with determination. After a long night of tossing and turning, Ava's resolute words, "I'm not crying today, Mom," still echoed. But the article about Ethan Brooks, the piano prodigy who rejected Carnegie Hall, made her suspicious. What does he want from Ava? Vivian wondered, gripping the steering wheel tightly. She stopped in front of the community music school, an old building with a faded sign, and took a deep breath. Today, she would confront Ethan, protecting her daughter from any potential danger. But as she walked in, the scene before her made her pause, her heart pounding. Inside the music school, the morning sunlight streamed through the windows, illuminating the old piano, making the yellowed ivory keys glimmer. The warm air tinged with the scent of old wood and paper, mixed with a hint of coffee from the corner cafe. Ava Caldwell, 14 years old, sat at the piano, her fingers gliding gently, playing a short, clumsy, yet emotional piece. Ethan Brooks stood beside her, smiling encouragingly. "Good job, Ava. A little more emphasis, like you're telling a story." Zoe Turner, the music school manager, leaned against the wall, clapping. "Hey, Ava, if you play like this, I might have to take piano lessons again." Ava blushed, but the corner of her mouth curled into a rare smile that made the room seem brighter. Vivian stood tucked behind the door, watching, her emotions tangled. Ava, her silent daughter for the past 2 years, now playing piano before strangers, her face gleaming with a joy Vivian hadn't seen since the fateful school performance. 2 years ago, Ava had collapsed on the school stage, forgetting notes because of bullying, and the mocking laughter of the audience seemed to erase her smile. Vivian had banned the piano, thinking it was the cause, but now she was confused. "Why can you smile with them, but not with me?" she thought, her eyes blurred. Yet suspicion still lingered. Ethan, who once rejected Carnegie Hall, why was he here, teaching music at such a rundown place? Does he see Ava's talent and want to exploit it? Ethan noticed Ava tremble slightly, her eyes glancing toward the door, as if worried her mom would appear. "Hey, little pianist. Don't worry," he said warmly. "Play for yourself. It doesn't have to be perfect." He purposely hit a wrong note, grimaced humorously. "See, I'm worse than you." Ava laughed, a pure laughter that made Zoe chime in. "Ethan, stop wrecking the piano, or I'll kick you out and make you my cat's playmate." All three laughed loudly, but Ava stopped, hands clenched, as if battling her fear. She whispered, "I'm afraid Mom will find out. She doesn't want me to play." Ethan nodded, voice gentle. "I understand. But you have talent, Ava. Don't let anyone, not even your mom, take that away." Zoe, standing near the door, accidentally spoke out to Ethan. "Hey, what do you think about next month's concert? If the school can't get the funds, we might have to close." Ava overheard, eyes wide, but she remained silent, torn inside. She remembered Ethan's warm gaze, how he helped her forget her fear, and wondered, What can I do to help? Ethan, unaware, continued guiding Ava, but Zoe's words had planted a seed in the young girl. Vivian, eavesdropping by the door, clenched her fist. The school closing? Is he trying to manipulate Ava? She stepped in, voice cold. Ava, what did I say about this place? Ava, startled, jumped up, face pale. Ethan and Zoe stood shocked, the room heavy with tension. Vivian looked at Ethan, her gaze sharp as a knife. Mr. Brooks, I want a private talk. Zoe nudged Ava to the side of the room, whispered, Don't worry, kid. Your mom is just a bit tense. But Ava trembled, fear gripping her. In the small corner of the school, Vivian faced Ethan, voice shaking with anger. I know who you are. Piano prodigy, rejected Carnegie Hall, now teaching here. What do you want from my daughter? To relive your failed dream through Ava? Ethan was taken aback, but remained calm. Ms. Caldwell, I want nothing but to help Ava. She has talent, but more importantly, she needs joy. Didn't you see? She smiled today. Vivian was shocked, but suspicion still clouded her mind. You think I can't protect my child? Ava was hurt because of the piano, and I won't let you trigger a relapse. Ava, overhearing from the corner of the room, couldn't stand it. She stepped forward, her voice small but resolute. Mom, I'm not hurt today. I want to play piano. Vivian looked at her daughter, shocked and pained. Ava's words seemed to awaken her, but the fear of losing her daughter kept her firm. That's enough, Ava. We're leaving now. She grabbed Ava's hand, pulling her to the car, but her daughter's gaze, not only fearful, but also determined, made her waver. Ethan stood by the door, saying nothing, but his eyes filled with regret. Zoe patted his shoulder. You did the right thing, Ethan. But her mom, she's tough. In the car, Vivian was silent, her hand gripping the wheel until her knuckles turned white. Ava stared out the window, fingers tapping rhythmically on her knee, as if replaying the unfinished melody. Vivian glanced at her daughter, her mind troubled. Am I protecting Ava or ruining her? She wondered. She decided to learn more about Ethan, but she didn't know that a bigger secret awaited her ahead. Will Vivian change her mind, or will her suspicions stop Ava's passion? And Ethan, what is he hiding behind that warm smile? Stay tuned to True Millionaire Moments for the next development. Have you ever stood between passion and safety, unsure what to choose? Share your story in the comments and hit subscribe to not miss a single moment. Each viewer like you is a melody lighting up this journey. In the car cruising through the streets of Brooklyn, Vivian Caldwell was silent, her hands gripping the steering wheel so tightly her knuckles turned white. Ava's determined look, I want to play the piano, haunted her, like a challenge breaking down the protective wall she built around her daughter. Vivian glanced at Ava, who was staring out the window, her fingers tapping rhythmically on her thigh, as if replaying the unfinished tune from music school. Ethan Brooks's words echoed in her mind. Didn't you see? She smiled today. Vivian bit her lip, her heart in turmoil. She wanted to protect Ava from pain, but was she extinguishing the only thing that made her happy? She decided to find out more about Ethan, not just through the article but through his actions. Little did she know, a bigger secret awaited her ahead. At the Brooklyn Community Music School, the afternoon ambiance was quieter, the sunlight fading, casting a warm golden orange on the old piano. Ethan Brooks sat in the chair, fingers lightly brushing the keys, but not playing, as if each note recalled old pain. Confrontation with Vivian left him perturbed. I just want to help Ava, he whispered. But Caldwell's sharp and doubting gaze made him question if he was overstepping. Zoe Turner entered, a stack of papers in hand, her voice worried. "Ethan, the rent bill is here again. If we can't make next month's funds, we're done for." Ethan nodded, but his gaze was distant. "I know, Zoe, but the kids need this place. Ava needs this place." Zoe shrugged, teasing to alleviate the tension. "Hey, genius, stop dreaming of saving the world with a piano, or I could sell you to my cat club to pay the rent." Ethan chuckled, but his heart was heavy. He didn't want Ava to know the school was struggling, fearing she would blame herself. Ava, back home, sat in her room, the window open to the bustling street. She looked at the silver bracelet her mother gave her, placed on the table, its sparkle reminding her of the moment her mother caught her at music school. Zoe's words echoed. "If we can't make it, the school has to close." Ava clenched her fists, her heart conflicted. She remembered Ethan's gaze, his patient way of teaching her piano, and Zoe's smile, like a family she never had. "I have to do something," Ava murmured. She thought about the bracelet, a birthday gift worth thousands of dollars, but shook her head, fearing her mother would be even angrier. Instead, she opened an old notebook, scribbling ideas. Organize a concert? Sell paintings? She didn't know how yet, but the seed of passion had sprouted, pushing her beyond her fear. The next morning, Vivian called Dr. Lena Hayes, the psychologist who had been monitoring Ava for 2 years. She paced in her BioNova office, her voice tense. "Lena, I need you to reevaluate Ava. She secretly went to piano lessons, and I'm worried it might relapse. Like before." Lena, her voice gentle yet firm, replied, "Vivian, I understand your concerns. But if Ava finds joy in playing the piano, that could be a way for her to overcome social anxiety. You should observe, not forbid." Vivian bit her lip, reluctant to admit it, but Lena's words wavered her. She decided to visit the music school once more, not for a confrontation, but to understand what Ethan and Ava were truly doing. At the school, Ava sneaked in early in a pale blue sweater, more determined than ever. She pushed open the door, seeing Ethan teaching a group of young kids, his voice enthusiastic. "All right, everyone, play like you're telling a story." Ava hid in the corner, watching, her heart racing. She wanted to ask Ethan about the music school, but her fear of rejection made her hesitate. Zoe, posting flyers about the concert, noticed Ava and smiled. "Hey, piano girl, here to save the piano from Ethan?" Ava blushed, murmured, "Miss Zoe, is the school really about to close?" Zoe was taken aback, but smiled lightly. "Oh, you were eavesdropping. Don't worry, we're figuring things out. But with you here, there's still hope for the piano." Ava nodded, but her heart was heavy. She sat down at the piano, playing a longer piece than yesterday, her fingers more confident, as if telling her own story. Ethan applauded, but noticed Ava's pensive eyes. "Hey, kiddo, something on your mind?" he asked softly. Ava hesitated, then whispered, "I want to help the school. What can I do?" Ethan was surprised, but smiled. "Ava, just playing the piano is helping. Don't worry about grown-up stuff, okay?" Ava nodded, but her eyes were determined. She didn't mention the bracelet, but the idea of organizing a concert in her notebook became clearer. Just then, Vivian entered, in an elegant gray suit, her gaze no longer sharp but contemplative. She stood by the door, watching Ava play the piano, her daughter's face radiating like sunlight. Ethan instructing, Zoe joking, and for the first time Vivian saw Ava not as the silent child in a picture frame. But when Ava stopped playing, Vivian approached, her voice calm. "Ava, I want to talk to Mr. Brooks." Ava shivered slightly, afraid her mother would forbid it again, but nodded, moving to the corner of the room. Vivian looked at Ethan, her voice low. "Mr. Brooks, I read about you. A piano prodigy, refusing Carnegie Hall. Why are you here teaching a kid like Ava?" Ethan took a deep breath, his voice earnest. "Ms. Caldwell, I'm here because I lost everything. My father died, and the piano became a source of pain. Ava, she reminds me of why I loved the piano. I don't want her to give up like I did." Vivian was stunned, not expecting such sincerity. She looked at Ava, hiding beside Zoe, and asked, "Are you sure the piano will help my daughter, not hurt her?" Ethan nodded. "I can't promise Ava will no longer be afraid, but I promise to let her choose her own path." Vivian was silent, her heart troubled. She looked at Ava, seeing her daughter discreetly tapping rhythms on Zoe's hands, unable to stop thinking about the piano. Zoe, to break the tension, chimed in. "Hey, Ms. Caldwell, Ava plays better than Ethan did at her age. He used to make my cat run away." Vivian unexpectedly let out a small laugh for the first time that day. Ava looked at her mother, her eyes hopeful. Vivian sighed, her voice gentle. "Ava, I'll reconsider, but you must promise not to sneak around again." Ava nodded, her eyes bright. But as mother and daughter left the school, Vivian received a call from Ms. Rosa. "Ms. Vivian, I found one of Ava's notebooks. It said something about selling the silver bracelet to save the school." Vivian was stunned, her heart pounding. Ava, in the car, unaware her mother had discovered her secret. Would Vivian understand Ava's intent, or doubt Ethan's return? And Ethan, what secret has he yet to reveal? Join True Millionaire Moments to discover what happens next. Have you ever wanted to help someone but feared being misunderstood? Share your story in the comments, and hit subscribe to not miss a moment. Each of your comments is a note, lighting up this emotional journey. Vivian Caldwell sat in the luxurious living room of the penthouse apartment in Midtown, a dim light shining on Ava's small notebook, which Mrs. Rosa found under the girl's pillow. The scribbled words, "Sell the silver bracelet," "A performance," "Help the music school," pierced her heart. Vivian gripped the notebook tightly, recalling Ava's determined look at the music school. "I want to play the piano," she muttered. "Ava, what are you thinking?" Suspicion about Ethan Brooks surged strongly. A piano prodigy who once turned down Carnegie Hall, now teaching at a place about to close. Could he be exploiting Ava's kindness? But her daughter's smile, beaming by the piano, made Vivian waver. She called Dr. Lena Hayes, voice trembling. "Lena, I need to see you right away. Ava, she's doing something, and I'm afraid I don't understand her." She didn't know that. In the next room, Ava was secretly planning something bigger. At the Brooklyn Community Music School, the soft morning light filtered through the windows, casting a pale golden glow over the old piano. Ethan Brooks stood before a blackboard, writing music notes for class. But his mind drifted to Ava. Vivian's words, "failed prodigy," cut into his pride. But Ava's hopeful gaze made him determined not to give up. Zoe Turner walked in, holding a stack of flyers for the community concert. "Ethan, do you think Ava will participate in the concert? She's talented, but her mom, she's fierce as a lion," Zoe teased, winking. Ethan smirked. "I don't know, Zoe. I just want Ava to be confident, not held back by her mom. But our school..." He trailed off, eyeing the pile of bills on the desk. Zoe sighed. "Yeah, one more month. Without a miracle, we have to close." Ethan nodded, eyes resolute. "Ava needs this place. I'll figure something out." Ava, in a gray hoodie, sneaked into the music school right after class, heart pounding. She couldn't forget her mom's gaze yesterday, both angry and worried. But Zoe's words about the school closing made her restless. Ava stood by the door, watching Ethan lead a group of kids, his voice excited. "All right, guys, play like you're flying." She took a deep breath, stepped in, eyes more determined than ever. Ethan looked up, smiling. "Piano girl, here to rescue me from Zoe again?" Ava blushed, but her voice was small and firm. "I want to learn more. And I want to ask, is the school really closing?" Ethan was surprised, glancing at Zoe, who was posting flyers nearby. Zoe chimed in, teasing. "Oh, Ava, you're turning into a detective. Don't worry, we're figuring things out. But with you here, piano is more fun than my cat." Ava chuckled lightly, but she felt heavy-hearted. She sat at the piano, played a longer piece, her fingers gliding gently, as if narrating fear and hope. Ethan clapped. "Ava, you're improving quickly. If you want, we have a concert next month. Want to try?" Ava was taken aback, recalling that performance 2 years ago when friends' bullying made her forget the notes, and the audience's mocking laughter. She trembled lightly but nodded. "I will try." Meanwhile, Vivian met Dr. Lena at a local cafe near Central Park. Lena, with her silver hair and gentle eyes, listened to Vivian talk about Ava's notebook. "Vivian, Ava is finding a way to express herself," Lena said. "Social anxiety doesn't mean she's weak. Piano can be an escape, but you have to let Ava decide for herself, not control." Vivian bit her lip, voice shaking. "But what if she relapses? Lena, I can't bear it if Ava cries again like that." Lena placed a hand on Vivian's. "You can't protect Ava forever. Trust her, and get to know Ethan. He might be the key." Vivian returned home, mind in turmoil. She opened Ava's notebook again, seeing a new line. "Perform with Ethan? Mom will be mad, but I want to help." Vivian was stunned, realizing Ava didn't just play piano, she wanted to save the music school. She remembered her daughter's smile and Ethan's words. "I want Ava to choose her own path." Vivian decided to visit the music school again, but this time, she wanted to talk to Zoe, who seemed to know Ethan better than anyone. At the music school, Ava was playing piano, Ethan standing beside, guiding. "More emotion, Ava, like you're telling the world." Zoe, tidying nearby, teased. "Hey, Ethan, don't make Ava better than you, or I'll send you cat-sitting." Ava laughed but paused when she saw Vivian walk in. The atmosphere tensed. Ava quivered lightly, fearing her mom's restriction again. Vivian looked at her daughter, voice gentle. "Ava, I'm not angry. I want to talk to Ms. Zoe." Ava was stunned, nodded, stepping aside. Vivian pulled Zoe to a corner, voice low. "Ms. Turner, I need to know the truth about Ethan. Is he trustworthy? Ava, she wants to save this school, but I'm not sure I can trust him." Zoe looked at Vivian, voice sincere. "Ms. Caldwell, Ethan is a good person. When his father passed away, Ethan quit performing, as every note reminded him of pain. He came here to teach music to find meaning again, helping kids like Ava. Before Ava came along, Ethan was just getting by, but she reminded him of his deep love for piano. Ethan isn't taking advantage of Ava. He just wants to help. And this school, it's a home for kids like your daughter." Vivian was silent, her gaze wavering. She looked at Ava, secretly tapping rhythm on Ethan's hand, and felt a crack in her wall of doubt. But as Vivian and Ava left the school, Mrs. Rosa called, worried. "Ms. Vivian, Ava left her silver bracelet in the room. I found it in her little piano box." Vivian froze, recalling the words in the notebook. "Sell the silver bracelet?" She looked at Ava, silent next to the car seat, and asked, "Ava, Is there something you want to tell me? Ava trembled lightly but shook her head. Vivian clenched her hand, determined to find the truth, not knowing Ethan was also hiding a bigger secret. Will Vivian discover Ava's true intentions, or will her suspicions destroy everything? And Ethan, what is he not telling Ava? Join True Millionaire Moments to explore the next developments. Have you ever kept a secret for fear of not being understood? Share your story in the comments and subscribe to the channel to not miss a moment. Each viewer like you is a note that brightens this journey. Vivian Caldwell sat in the car, the Brooklyn streetlights casting shadows on her face, revealing her anxiety. Ava's notebook, with a note reading, "Sell silver bracelet," and the precious bracelet Rosa found in the girl's piano box, was like a puzzle she couldn't breathe from. Ava's words, "I want to play the piano," echoed. Yet the doubts about Ethan Brooks still squeezed her heart. Is he encouraging Ava to do something reckless? Vivian wondered, remembering Ethan's sincere eyes and her daughter's rare smile by the piano. She looked at Ava, silent in the car seat, fingers tapping a rhythm on her thigh, as if playing an invisible melody. Vivian took a deep breath, her voice gentle but firm. "Ava, I need you to tell the truth. What were you planning to do with the silver bracelet?" Ava shivered slightly, her eyes avoiding, but she didn't answer. Vivian clenched her hands, determined to find the truth, unaware that an unexpected moment would force her to confront her own fears. At the Brooklyn Community Music School, the evening sunlight filtered through the windows, casting a warm, golden-orange glow on the old piano. Ethan Brooks stood in front of a group of kids, guiding them to play a cheerful tune. But his mind wandered to Ava. The conversation with Vivian, relayed through Zoe, left him troubled. "I just want to help Ava," he whispered. But Caldwell's suspicious gaze made him question whether he was leading the girl into trouble. Zoe Turner walked in, carrying a new poster for the community concert. "Ethan, what do you think? Is this catchy enough to attract sponsors?" Zoe asked, her voice enthusiastic. Ethan looked at the poster, featuring a piano with the words, "Save the Community Music School," and sighed. "It's nice, Zoe, but we'll need more than a poster. Without money, our school will..." Zoe interrupted, teasing to lighten the mood. "Hey, Prodigy, don't be so gloomy. I bet Ava will show up, play the piano, and get all of Brooklyn to donate." Ethan chuckled softly. "I hope so. She's talented, but her mom..." Zoe winked. "Even lions can have soft moments, trust me." Ava, in the spacious room at home, sat by the window watching the bustling street. She opened her notebook, scribbled with ideas. Perform with Ethan? Sell the silver bracelet? Make drawings? Zoe's words about the school closing still haunted her, like a cry for help from the only place she felt safe. Ava clenched the silver bracelet, her birthday gift from her mother, and murmured, "If I sell it, Mom will be mad. But the music school needs it." She remembered Ethan's patient gaze while she hit the wrong note, and Zoe's smile, like a family she never had. Ava wrote further in her notebook, "Ask Ethan about the concert. I have to help." She hadn't dared to tell anyone yet, but her intention to perform to save the music school became clearer, despite the fear of the stage still clinging to her. The next morning, Vivian arrived at the BioNova office, but her mind wasn't focused on shareholder reports. She opened her phone, rereading the article about Ethan. Piano prodigy rejects Carnegie Hall after family tragedy. She called Dr. Lena Hayes, her voice tense. "Lena, I found Ava's notebook. The girl wants to sell her silver bracelet to save the music school. I'm scared Ethan is having too much influence." Lena, her voice calm but strong. "Vivian, Ava is seeking a way to overcome her fear. You should talk to her, not criticize." And Ethan, you've seen how he helps Ava. Believe a little. Vivian bit her lip, torn, but decided to visit the music school again, not to confront, but to understand Ava's intent. At the school, Ava sneaked in after class, wearing a pale blue sweater, full of determination. She pushed the door open, seeing Ethan cleaning up, his voice echoing from the corner. "All right, everyone. Put the instruments away carefully." Ava tucked herself into a corner, watching Zoe put up another concert poster. She took a deep breath and approached Ethan, her voice small. "Mr. Ethan, the concert. Can I help with anything?" Ethan was surprised, smiling. "Ava, do you want to join? Just play a little piece, how does that sound?" Ava trembled slightly, remembering the performance 2 years ago when laughter from the audience made her crumble. But she nodded. "I want to try to help the school." Ethan patted her shoulder. "Good girl. We'll practice with you, no pressure." Zoe, eavesdropping, jumped in. "Wow, Ava, if you play, the whole of Brooklyn will show up. But don't outshine Ethan, or my cat will get jealous again." Ava laughed, her pure laughter lighting up the room. Ethan guided Ava through a new music piece, his voice excited. "Add some flair, Ava, as if you're storytelling." Ava played, her fingers more assured, as if speaking to the world. But as she paused, her gaze drifted out the door, and she froze. Vivian was standing there in a gray suit, her eyes pensive. Vivian stepped in, the air heavy. Ava trembled slightly, afraid her mother would forbid her again. Vivian looked at her daughter, her voice gentle. "Ava, I saw you playing. I want to understand you better." She turned to Ethan, her voice lowered. "Mr. Brooks, I know Ava wants to save this school. But the silver bracelet, she was planning to sell it. Did you know?" Ethan was stunned, shaking his head. "No, Ms. Caldwell. Ava hasn't mentioned anything about a bracelet. She just wants to play piano and help through the concert." Ava, unable to bear it, stepped forward, her voice trembling. "Mom, I don't want to sell the bracelet. I want to help Mr. Ethan and Ms. Zoe. This school is the one place I'm not afraid." Vivian was speechless, looking at her daughter, her eyes filled with tears. Ava's words awakened her, but the fear of her daughter relapsing kept her firm. "Ava, you don't understand. Piano hurt you. I don't want you to risk it." Ethan spoke up sincerely. "Ms. Caldwell, Ava isn't hurt today. She's stronger than you think. When my father died, I gave up piano out of fear of pain. But Ava reminds me that piano is not just pain, but healing. I believe Ava can do it." Vivian looked at Ethan, her eyes wavering, but an unexpected memory surged. She too once played the violin and gave it up out of fear of failure. She muttered, "I was afraid once too." Suddenly, Zoe held the poster, jumping in. "Hey, Ms. Caldwell, if Ava plays at the concert, this school might have a chance. Do you want to watch her practice?" Vivian was startled, looking at Ava, her daughter's eyes shining with hope. She nodded, her voice small. "I will watch." Ava laughed, running to hug her mom, for the first time in 2 years. Vivian embraced her, her heart aching, but another crack in her wall of doubt broke open. But as mother and daughter left the school, Vivian received an email from her assistant. "Ms. Caldwell, I found information on Ethan Brooks. He once turned down a big contract for an undisclosed reason." Vivian was stunned, doubt resurfacing. Is Ethan hiding something bigger? And Ava, can she face the stage? Join True Millionaire Moments to find out what happens next. Have you ever faced your fears to help someone? Share your story in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a moment. Each viewer like you is a melody lighting up this journey. Vivian Caldwell sat in BioNova's office, the laptop screen's glow highlighting the tension on her face. An email from her assistant. Ethan Brooks turned down a major contract for undisclosed reasons. Was a mysterious piece she couldn't ignore. Ava's notebook, with the line "performing with Ethan," and her daughter's determined gaze at the music school, left Vivian conflicted. She wanted to believe in Ethan, the one who made Ava laugh after 2 years of silence. But doubt clung to her like a shadow. What's he hiding? Rejecting Carnegie Hall? Vivian muttered, skimming through an old article about the piano prodigy. She picked up the phone, called her assistant. Find more about Ethan Brooks. I need to know everything. But she didn't expect that at Brooklyn's music school, Ava was facing her greatest challenge. Brooklyn Community Music School glowed under the noon sun, save the music school posters glimmering on the patchy walls. Ethan Brooks stood in the middle of the room, guiding a group of children on the piano, enthusiastically saying, "Come on, kids, let's make Brooklyn rock." But his eyes wandered to Ava, the girl who nodded to join the concert. Ethan knew Ava's stage fright, and he wondered if he was pushing her too hard. Zoe Turner, holding a stack of flyers, walked in, anxiously saying, "Ethan, the concert is in 3 weeks. If we don't get enough funding, the school is done for." Ethan nodded but smiled slightly. "Zoe, with Ava, we have hope. She's stronger than you think." Zoe winked, teasing. "Oh, prodigy, don't dream Ava will save you from being my house cat." Ethan laughed, but felt heavy-hearted. He didn't want Ava to feel pressured, but the music school was the only place she had found herself. Ava, in the large room at home, sat by the window watching the bustling street. She opened the notebook, reread the line. "Perform with Ethan, help the school." Stage fright, like a shadow from her performance 2 years ago, still clung to her. She remembered the blinding lights, friends deliberately making her forget notes, and the audience's mocking laughter. Ava clenched her fists, but the image of Ethan's patience, Zoe's teasing, and the old piano made her murmur, "I must do it." She wrote more. "Practice with Ethan every day. No fear." But when she closed the notebook, she heard a knock on the door. Vivian stepped in, her voice gentle. "Ava, I need to talk." Ava trembled slightly, fearing her mother would forbid piano again. Vivian sat next to her, holding the notebook, her voice low. "I know you want to perform to save the music school. But Ava, do you remember last time? The stage. It hurt you." Ava bowed her head, but her small, firm voice. "I remember, Mom. But I don't want to be afraid forever. Ethan said I could choose my own path." Vivian was stunned, looking at her daughter, eyes glistening. She recalled Dr. Lena's words. Let Ava decide for herself. But the email about Ethan made her hesitate. She held Ava's hand. "I'll let you try. But I need to ensure Brooks isn't hiding anything. Promise me you'll tell if something's off, okay?" Ava nodded, hope shining in her eyes. The next morning, Ava arrived at the music school after class, wearing a gray hoodie, full of determination. She pushed the door open, seeing Ethan practicing a new piece, his fingers gliding over the keys like telling a sad story. Ava stood quietly at the door, entranced, but Ethan looked up, smiling. "Piano girl, ready to make Brooklyn shake?" Ava blushed, stepping forward. "I want to practice for the concert." Ethan nodded, guiding her through a difficult passage. "Play it slowly, Ava, note by note, as if you're speaking to your mom." Ava played, fingers trembling but more confident, as if confronting her fear. Zoe, tidying nearby, chimed in. "Ava, if you play like this, we'll sell out concert tickets. But don't be better than Ethan, or he'll tell my house cat." Ava laughed, her clear laughter making Ethan wink. "Zoe, your cat's already jealous of Ava." But when Ava stopped, she whispered, "Ethan, if the school closes, where will the kids go?" Ethan was surprised, his voice soft. "We're trying, Ava. You playing piano is already helping. Don't worry, okay?" Ava nodded, but her eyes were resolute. She hadn't mentioned the silver bracelet, but her intention to perform to save the school grew stronger. Meanwhile, Vivian received a report from her assistant. Ethan Brooks rejected a recording contract with a major label after his father's death, citing personal reasons. He was once sued for breach of contract, but the case was settled privately. Vivian froze, suspicion rising. Breach of contract? What's he hiding? She drove to the music school, her mind in turmoil. Upon arrival, she saw Ava playing piano, Ethan guiding, and Zoe clapping. Vivian stood at the door, her heart pounding. Ava, her face glowing, was no longer the silent girl in the photograph. But the report on Ethan urged her forward, her voice cold. "Mr. Brooks, I need to speak with you privately." Ethan nodded, leading Vivian to a corner of the room. Ava shivered slightly, fearing her mother might forbid it again. Zoe pulled Ava aside, whispering, "Don't worry, girl. Your mom will understand." Vivian looked at Ethan, her voice low. "I know you breached a major contract after your father died. What are you hiding that no one knows? I won't let Ava be near someone unclear." Ethan took a deep breath, his eyes somber. "Ms. Caldwell, I'm not hiding from Ava. My father died in a car accident and I fell into depression. The label wanted me to perform immediately afterward, but I couldn't. I breached the contract because I didn't want piano to be a burden. Ava helps me find joy again, and I just want to help her like I once needed someone to help." Vivian was shocked, her eyes flickering. She remembered herself, once quitting the violin for fear of failure, and Ava's words, "I don't want to be afraid forever." She glanced at her daughter, discreetly tapping rhythm on Zoe's hand, and whispered, "I understand." But as she started to speak further, Zoe interjected excitedly, "Ms. Caldwell, Ava's performing at the concert. Would you like to watch her practice?" Vivian nodded, her eyes brimming with tears. Ava ran over, hugging her mother, whispering, "Thank you, Mom." Vivian embraced her daughter, feeling her walls of doubt crumble. But upon returning to BioNova's office, Vivian found a small file box on her desk, accompanied by a note from Dr. Lena. "Vivian, here's Ava's family history. There's something important about your parents." Vivian opened the box, her hands trembling slightly, finding an old letter written by her mother, Margaret. A line froze her. "Edward, your father, suffered from severe social anxiety." Vivian clutched the letter, her heart racing. Could this family secret change how she viewed Ava? And would Ava overcome her stage fright? Join True Millionaire Moments to discover the next developments. Have you ever uncovered a secret that changed everything? Share your story in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a moment. Every viewer like you is a note lighting up this journey. Vivian Caldwell stood silently in the BioNova office, the dim light shining on an old letter from her mother, Margaret, which she had found in Dr. Lena Hayes's file box. The shaky handwriting. "Edward, your father, suffered from severe social anxiety," felt like a dagger piercing her heart. Vivian clutched the letter tightly, recalling her mother's distant gaze whenever she mentioned her father, and how she always avoided going into details. "Why didn't you tell me?" Vivian muttered, her hand trembling slightly. She thought of Ava, the beautiful girl struggling with the same fears she once saw in herself, and now, perhaps, in her grandfather. The letter shocked Vivian, but it also awakened a buried memory. She herself had given up the violin out of fear of failing in front of a crowd. She looked at the photo frame of Ava on the desk, muttering, "You have this fear too, don't you?" But she never imagined that at the Brooklyn Music School, Ava was taking her first steps to overcome her own shadow. The Brooklyn Community Music School was radiant under the afternoon sun, with "Save the Music School" posters shimmering on the mottled walls. Ethan Brooks stood in the middle of the room, guiding a group of kids playing the piano, his voice full of energy. "Come on, kids, let all of Brooklyn hear." But his eyes drifted to Ava, the girl who had bravely agreed to perform at the community concert. Ethan knew Ava's stage fright and wondered if she would have the strength to face it. Zoe Turner walked in, carrying a stack of freshly printed concert tickets, her voice excited. "Ethan, the tickets are selling pretty well. If Ava plays well, our school has a chance." Ethan nodded but was worried. "Zoe, don't pressure Ava. She needs time." Zoe winked, teasing. "Hey, prodigy, don't worry. Ava is better than you were at her age. Even my cat prefers her over you." Ethan laughed, but his heart was heavy. He wanted to protect Ava, just as he wished someone had protected him after the tragedy of losing his father. Ava, in the spacious room at home, sat by the small piano, her fingers gently gliding over the keys, playing a piece that Ethan taught her. She opened her notebook, reading again the words, "Perform to save the school. Don't be afraid." Stage fright, like a shadow from the performance 2 years ago, still haunted her. She remembered the blinding lights, the friends who deliberately made her forget the notes, and the mocking laughter from the audience washing over her like waves. Ava clenched her hand, but Ethan's words, "Play like you're talking to your mother," made her mutter, "I have to do it." She wrote more. "Practice every day. Talk to Mom about the concert." But as she closed the notebook, she heard footsteps. Vivian entered, Margaret's letter still in hand, her voice gentle. "Ava, I need you to be honest. What are you planning to do to save the music school?" Ava trembled slightly, afraid her mother would forbid her again. She bowed her head, her voice soft. "I want to perform at the concert. I want to help Ethan and Zoe. The music school is where I'm not afraid, Mom." Vivian was stunned, looking at her daughter, her eyes welling up. Margaret's letter reminded her that Ava might be carrying the inherited fear from her grandfather. But her daughter's determination shook her resolve. Vivian sat next to Ava, her voice trembling. "I worry for you, Ava. The stage, it's not easy. I used to play the violin, but I quit because of fear. I just learned your grandfather was afraid of crowds too, like you." Ava froze, her hand trembling lightly. "I am like Grandpa?" Vivian held her hand, her voice gentle. "Maybe, but you are stronger than I think. If you want to perform, I'll be there. But promise me, if you're scared, you'll tell me." Ava nodded, her eyes brightening, hugging her mother. "Thank you, Mom." Vivian hugged her daughter, her heart aching, but some of her fear dissipated. She decided to visit Dr. Lena to learn more about the family secret, but also wanted to watch Ava practice, as Zoe suggested. The following morning, Ava arrived at the music school, wearing a light blue sweater, filled with hope. She pushed the door open, seeing Ethan playing a melancholy piece, his fingers gliding over the keys as if telling a story. Ava stood by the door, fascinated, but Ethan looked up, smiling. "Piano girl, are you ready to make the stage vibrate?" Ava blushed, stepping forward. "I want to practice a new piece." Ethan nodded, guiding her through a more challenging section. "Play slowly, Ava. Each note, like you're telling your own story." Ava played, her fingers growing more confident, as if facing the shadow of the stage head-on. Zoe, affixing another poster nearby, chimed in. "Ava, if you play like this, all of Brooklyn will be enchanted. But don't let Ethan brag. He'll tell even my cat." Ava laughed, her pure laughter making Ethan wink. "Zoe, your cat is already jealous of Ava." But as Ava stopped playing, she whispered, "Ethan, if I get scared on stage, what will you do?" Ethan was surprised, his voice gentle. "I'll be in the audience clapping the loudest. Ava, you don't need to be perfect. You just need to be yourself." Ava nodded, her eyes shining, but the fear still lingered. Meanwhile, Vivian arrived at Dr. Lena's office near Central Park. Lena, with her silver hair and gentle eyes, handed Vivian an old file. "These are my notes on Ava and information from your mother, Margaret. Edward, your father, suffered severe social anxiety and quit the violin because he couldn't bear the stage pressure. Margaret hid it because she feared you would blame yourself for raising Ava alone." Vivian trembled slightly, her voice shaky. "So Ava, she inherited it from her grandfather?" Lena nodded. "Possibly. But Ava is overcoming it, thanks to the piano and Ethan. You should support her, not control her." Vivian was stunned, remembering Ava's eyes when playing the piano, and muttered, "How wrong have I been?" Vivian drove to the music school, her mind in turmoil. As she stepped inside, she saw Ava playing the new piece, with Ethan guiding and Zoe clapping. Vivian stood by the door, her heart racing. Ava, her face shining, seemed no longer to carry the inherited shadow. She stepped forward, her voice gentle. "Ava, I saw you play. I'm proud." Ava was startled, ran to hug her mother, whispering, "I will do it, Mom." Ethan looked at Vivian, his eyes empathetic. Zoe chimed in happily. "Ms. Caldwell, if Ava plays, this school will thrive. You'll come to the concert, right?" Vivian nodded, her eyes welling up. But as she prepared to leave the school, Vivian accidentally picked up an old Carnegie Hall concert ticket, torn in half, fallen from Zoe's file box on the table. On the back, in scrawled handwriting, it read, "I promise, Father, I will use the piano to help others." Vivian froze, recognizing Ethan's handwriting. Suspicion rose, and she clutched the ticket tightly, muttering, "Ethan, what is this promise?" She looked at Ava, tapping rhythm on the car seat, her mind in turmoil. Will Vivian discover Ethan's deep secret, and will Ava overcome the shadow of the stage? Stay tuned with true Millionaire moments for the next developments. Have you ever had to face the past to protect the future? Share your story in the comments and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss a moment. Every viewer like you is a melody lighting up this journey. Vivian Caldwell sat in the BioNova office, the desk lamp illuminating the torn Carnegie Hall concert ticket. The scribbled words of Ethan Brooks. "I promise, Dad. I will use the piano to help others," felt like a cryptic puzzle that kept her awake. Her mother Margaret's letter revealing that her father Edward suffered from severe social anxiety still haunted her. Vivian gripped the ticket tightly, recalling Ava's determined gaze while playing the piano and her rare smile at the music school. "Ethan, what are you hiding?" she murmured, her heart pounding. She thought of Ava, perhaps burdened by the same inherited fear from her grandfather, and wondered if she was protecting her daughter or pushing her into the shadows. Vivian decided to meet Ethan one last time to find out the truth. But she never anticipated that a major climax awaited her family at the Brooklyn Music School. The community music school in Brooklyn was more lively than ever, the afternoon light casting a golden glow over the old piano. Posters saying, "Save the Music School," hung all over the walls, and hope filled the air with the concert only 2 weeks away. Ethan Brooks stood in the middle of the room, instructing a group of children, but his mind strayed back to Ava. He knew she struggled with stage fright, and his promise to his father, to use the piano to help others, set him on a mission to support Ava. Zoe Turner walked in, holding a list of sold tickets, her voice excited. "Ethan, Tickets are almost sold out. If Ava plays well, our school will be saved." Ethan nodded but was worried. "Zoe, Ava needs to believe in herself. I don't want to pressure her." Zoe winked, teasing. "Hey, Prodigy, don't worry. Ava's better than you. Even my cat wants her autograph." Ethan laughed, but his heart was heavy. He wanted Ava to shine but didn't want her to bear the pressure of saving the school. In the large room at home, Ava sat before the small piano, her fingers drifting over the keys, playing the piece Ethan had taught her. She opened her notebook, reading the scribbled line. "Perform to save the school. Don't be afraid." Stage fright, like a shadow from her performance 2 years ago, still clung to her. But her mother's words, "You're stronger than you think," made her mumble. "I can do it," she added. "Tell Ethan about the silver bracelet. Must help the school." Ava clung to the silver bracelet, a birthday gift from her mother, but hadn't dared to tell anyone, fearing her mother's anger. She took a deep breath, deciding to bring the bracelet to the music school, hoping Ethan would understand her intent. The next morning, Vivian went to Dr. Lena Hayes' office near Central Park, with Margaret's letter in hand. Lena, with her silver hair and gentle eyes, listened to Vivian recount stories about Ava and Ethan. "Vivian, Ava may carry the social anxiety from her grandfather Edward," Lena said. "Margaret kept it a secret because she feared you would blame yourself for raising Ava alone. But Ava is overcoming it, thanks to the piano and Ethan. You need to trust her and get to know Ethan without judgment." Vivian trembled slightly, her voice wavering. "But Ethan, he hides a promise he made to his father. I don't know if I should trust him." Lena placed a hand on Vivian's. "Talk to him. Secrets aren't inherently bad. Ava needs both of you." Vivian drove to the music school, her mind in turmoil. She walked in, seeing Ava play a new piece, her fingers gracefully moving over the keys as if telling a hopeful story. Ethan stood beside her, guiding. "That's great, Ava. Play as if you're telling the world." Zoe clapped and chimed in. "Ava, if you keep playing like this, Brooklyn will beg for tickets. But don't let Ethan brag. He might even tell my cat." Ava giggled but halted when she saw her mother. Vivian approached her, her voice soft. "Ava, I need to speak with Mr. Brooks." Ava trembled slightly, nodding as she moved to the corner of the room. Vivian pulled Ethan to one side, holding the torn Carnegie Hall ticket, her voice low. "I found this. What's the promise to your father? I need to know before letting Ava perform." Ethan was stunned, his eyes solemn. He took a deep breath, his voice shaky. "Ms. Caldwell, my father died in a car accident when I was 17. He wanted me to use the piano to help others, not just perform for fame. I turned down Carnegie Hall because I was depressed and couldn't play for money or pressure. Ava, she reminds me of that promise. I want to help her overcome her fear, as my father wanted for me." Vivian was taken aback, her eyes wavering. She remembered Margaret's letter about her own father quitting the violin due to anxiety and murmured, "Ava carries the same fear as my father." Ava, eavesdropping from the corner, couldn't stand it any longer. She approached, holding the silver bracelet, her voice trembling. "Mom, I don't want to be afraid like Grandpa. I want to perform to save the school, and I plan to sell this to help." Vivian was shocked, looking at the bracelet, her eyes moist. "Ava, this is a gift from me. You intend to sell it?" Ava nodded, her voice determined. "I want to help Mr. Ethan, Ms. Zoe, and the kids. The music school is my home." Ethan, his eyes moved, spoke up. "Ava, you don't need to sell the bracelet. Playing the piano is enough. The concert will save the school if you dare step onto the stage." Vivian looked at her daughter, remembering Dr. Lena's words. Ava is overcoming. She held Ava's hand, her voice shaking. I was wrong. You're stronger than I, stronger than your grandfather. I'll be there to watch you perform. Ava hugged her mother, crying. Thank you, Mom. Zoe, to break the tension, chimed in. Hey, Ava, if you play, my cat will be a VIP guest. The room burst into laughter, but Vivian looked at Ethan, her voice soft. Thank you. But I need to know. Is there anything else you haven't told us? Ethan nodded, his eyes serious. Yes, but I'll tell you when Ava is ready. As mother and daughter left the school, Vivian held the torn ticket, her mind unsettled. Margaret's letter and Ethan's promise felt like two puzzle pieces, but a bigger secret awaited her. She looked at Ava, drumming her fingers on the car seat, and murmured, You'll do it, won't you? But a question lingered. What else was Ethan hiding? And could Ava overcome the shadow of the stage? Join True Millionaire Moments to discover what happens next. Have you ever had to trust someone without knowing the whole truth? Share your story in the comments and hit subscribe to never miss a moment. Every viewer like you is a note lighting up this journey. Vivian Caldwell stood before the mirror in her midtown penthouse, gripping her mother's letter tightly. Margaret revealed that her father, Edward, suffered from severe social anxiety. Ethan Brooks's torn Carnegie Hall ticket, with the note, I promise, Dad, I will use the piano to help others, still haunted her. Vivian looked at Ava's photo, remembering her daughter's determined eyes, saying, I don't want to be afraid like Grandpa. Doubts about Ethan lingered, but Ava's bright smile at the music school and Dr. Lena's words, Ava is overcoming, made her whisper to herself, I must believe in my child. Tonight, at the Brooklyn Community Concert, Ava would perform, and Vivian was determined to attend, even though one question remained. Ethan, what are you still hiding? She didn't expect that tonight, all secrets would explode. The Brooklyn Community School was lit up by stage lights set up outdoors, posters saying, Save the Music School, shimmering in the night breeze. The crowd, from children to adults, gathered in front of the stage, filled with hope. Ethan Brooks stood backstage, checking the old piano, his mind in turmoil. Ava, the little girl he had helped overcome her fear, was about to step on stage, and he knew the pressure to save the music school was weighing heavily on her. Zoe Turner, in a bright red coat, rushed past, holding a guest list, her voice excited. Ethan, the audience is packed. If Ava plays, our school will survive. Ethan nodded but worried. Zoe, Ava needs to believe in herself, not just save the school. Zoe winked and teased. Hey, Prodigy, don't stress. Ava is better than you. Even my cat wants to be a VIP fan. Ethan chuckled, but his gaze was contemplative, remembering the promise to his father and the secret he hadn't revealed. Ava, in a simple blue dress, stood backstage, clutching the silver bracelet her mother gave her. The stage fright, like a dark shadow from her performance 2 years ago, squeezed at her chest. She remembered the audience's mocking laughter, the blinding lights, and how her friends deliberately made her forget a note. Ava trembled slightly, but looking at Ethan, checking the piano, and Zoe clapping encouragingly, she murmured, I must not be afraid. She tucked the silver bracelet into her pocket, determined not to sell it but to use her music to save the school. She took a deep breath and stepped onto the stage, the lights shining on her, her heart pounding. Vivian, in an elegant gray suit, sat in the front row next to Dr. Lena. She clenched her hand, watching Ava step out, filled with pride and worry. The girl looks so much like Edward, Vivian thought, remembering her mother's letter and the anxiety inherited from her father. Lena held her hand, her voice gentle. Vivian, Ava is stronger than you think. Believe in her. Vivian nodded, but her eyes lingered on Ethan, standing backstage, the torn ticket and his words. "Ava helps me remember my promise," made her whisper. "What are you still hiding?" Ava stood before the piano, the stage lights making her tremble. The crowd was silent, waiting. She looked down, seeing her mother and Lena in the front row, her mother's eyes filled with hope. Ava took a deep breath, her fingers touching the keys, playing the music Ethan taught her, each note telling of fear, hope, and love for the music school. But in the middle of the piece, an unexpected memory surged, the mocking laughter from 2 years ago. Ava shook violently. Her fingers hit the wrong keys, the lights felt scorching. The crowd murmured and she wanted to flee. Ethan, standing backstage, realized Ava was afraid. He stepped out, standing beside her, his voice soft. "Ava, look at me. Play as if you were talking to your mother, one note at a time." Ava looked at Ethan, his eyes warm, pulling her from the darkness. She took a deep breath, replayed the piece, her fingers sure. The music resounded powerfully, dispelling fear. The crowd was silent, then applause thundered. Vivian stood up abruptly, her eyes blurred, pride mixed with shock. Lena whispered, "She did it." After the performance, Ava ran off the stage, hugging her mother, crying, "I did it, Mom." Vivian embraced her, her voice shaky. "I'm proud, Ava. You're stronger than Grandpa and even more than me." Zoe rushed over, shouting, "Ava, you are a star. Even my cat will be jealous." The crowd laughed loudly, but Vivian pulled Ethan aside, her voice serious. "Mr. Brooks, I need to know. What is the promise to your father? And what are you hiding about Ava?" Ethan took a deep breath, his eyes contemplative. "Ms. Caldwell, I promised my father to use the piano to heal, not only for myself, but for others. But I haven't told everything. When he died, I saw him play a final piece, even though he feared crowds. He said, 'The piano is for connection, not fear.' Ava reminded me of that. But I once met a girl like Ava in the hospital when my father passed. That girl feared the stage, and I couldn't help her. I don't want to fail with Ava." Vivian was stunned, her eyes softened. She recalled Margaret's letter and whispered, "My father played the violin to connect too, despite his fear." She held Ethan's hand. "Thank you. Ava needs you." Ethan nodded, but his eyes showed a trace of worry, as if there was still something unsaid. Ava, standing nearby, eavesdropping, ran over, her voice determined. "Mom, Mr. Ethan, I want to keep going. I'm not afraid anymore." Vivian hugged her, her eyes blurred, but one question still lingered. Will Ava carry this inherited fear forever? That night, Vivian went home, opening Dr. Lena's document box again. Another note from Margaret fell out. Daniel, Ava's father, also carried fear, but he chose to run away. Vivian was stunned, her heart pounding. The secret about Daniel, the husband who left her, and Ava's inherited fear felt like a ticking time bomb. Will Vivian face Daniel's past, and will Ava hold onto the spotlight? Join True Millionaire Moments to explore the following developments. Have you ever faced a family secret to protect your loved one? Share your story in the comments, and hit subscribe to not miss any moments. Each audience member like you is a melody illuminating this journey. Vivian Caldwell sat in the penthouse living room in Midtown, the dim lights casting shadows on the final note from Dr. Lena Hayes' file. Daniel, Ava's father, also carried fears, but he chose to run away. Those words felt like an old wound, reviving painful memories of Daniel Reed, the husband who abandoned her while she was pregnant with Ava. Her mother's letter, Margaret, about her father, Edward, who suffered from severe social anxiety, still haunted her. Vivian clenched the note, remembering Ava's radiant face on the Brooklyn concert stage as she overcame the inherited fears from both her grandfather and father. Ava's smile and Ethan Brooks's words, "Ava is my chance for redemption," made her murmur, "You did it, didn't you?" But Daniel's secret drove her determination to face the past, so Ava would not have to run like her father. She hadn't expected that a new moment at Brooklyn School of Music would strengthen the family's faith. The Brooklyn Community Music School remained bustling, even after the Save the Music School concert succeeded tremendously. The glittering posters were now replaced with announcements. "School saved thanks to Brooklyn." The audience's donations were enough to pay the debt, and the atmosphere was filled with joy. Ethan Brooks stood in front of the old piano, wiping the keys with a light smile. But his mind drifted to Ava. The girl had shone on stage, overcoming her fear, and he was proud, but worried that Ava would face new pressures. Zoe Turner walked in, holding a new plaque, her voice excited. "Ethan, our school is alive. Ava is a star. Brooklyn is talking about her." Ethan nodded, but seriously remarked, "Zoe, Ava needs to pursue this for herself, not for the school." Zoe winked, teasing. "Hey, prodigy, don't be serious. Ava is better than you. My cat already founded a fan club for her." Ethan laughed, but his eyes turned pensive, remembering the secret he hadn't fully shared with Vivian. Ava, in the spacious room at home, sat before the small piano, her fingers gliding over the keys, playing a new piece Ethan suggested. She looked at the silver bracelet her mother gifted her, worn on her wrist, like a lucky charm from the concert night. Stage fright, though dimmed, still lingered, but her mother's proud eyes and Ethan's words, "You are a star," made her murmur, "I won't stop." She opened the notebook, rereading the lines. "Perform to save the school. No fear." She added, "Keep playing the piano. For Mom, Ethan, Zoe, and myself." Ava inhaled deeply, deciding to visit the music school, wanting to thank Ethan and Zoe and inquire about long-term piano lessons. Vivian, the next morning, arrived at Dr. Lena's office near Central Park, holding the note about Daniel. Lena, with silver hair and gentle eyes, listened as Vivian recounted the concert night. "Vivian, Ava has overcome the inherited fear from Edward and Daniel," Lena stated. "Daniel ran away due to social anxiety, but Ava faced it, thanks to you, Ethan, and the piano. You need to let go of Daniel's past to help your daughter." Vivian shivered slightly, her voice quivering. "I've blamed Daniel for years, but if Ava carries his fear, what should I do?" Lena held her hand. "Support Ava. You can't change Daniel, but you can help your daughter soar. And Ethan, he's trustworthy." Vivian nodded, her eyes blurred, deciding to go to the music school to meet Ava and Ethan. At the music school, Ava arrived early, clad in a light blue sweater, wearing the silver bracelet, her heart full of hope. She pushed the door open, seeing Ethan teaching a group of children, his voice enthusiastic. "Come on, kids, play like Ava." Ava blushed, stepped forward. "Ethan, thank you for the concert night. I want to learn piano long-term." Ethan was surprised, smiling. "Ava, you're the school's star. We'll teach you everything." Near Zoe, cleaning up, she chimed in. "Ava, if you keep learning, my cat will ask to be your student too. But don't let Ethan boast. He'll spill it to all of Brooklyn." Ava laughed, her innocent laugh making Ethan wink. "Zoe, your cat already founded a fan club for Ava." Vivian walked in, seeing Ava laughing, her heart filled with pride and worry. She approached, her voice gentle. "Ava, I see you happy. I know about your father. He was afraid, like your grandfather, but you surpassed him. Ava was stunned, her voice small. Dad was afraid like me. Vivian nodded, her eyes blurred. But you're stronger than him, stronger than me. I want you to continue playing piano. Ava hugged her mother, crying, I will, Mom. Ethan watched the mother and daughter, his eyes touched, but a pang of unease flashed by. Zoe chimed in. Hey, Ava, if you keep playing, this school will become Carnegie Hall. Ms. Caldwell, are you staying to watch the kids practice? Vivian smiled lightly, nodding. Vivian pulled Ethan aside, her voice low. Mr. Brooks, I trust you. But what haven't you told me about Ava? About your promise? Ethan inhaled deeply, his eyes somber. Ms. Caldwell, I haven't told you everything. When my father passed away, I met a girl at the hospital, scared of the stage like Ava. I couldn't help her, and she quit piano. I felt guilty, and Ava is my chance for redemption. But I'm afraid if Ava knows, she'll feel pressured. I just want her to play for herself. Vivian was stunned, her eyes softened. She remembered Daniel, who ran away, and murmured, You're not like Daniel. You're saving Ava. She held Ethan's hand. Keep helping my daughter. And thank you. Join True Millionaire Moments to discover the next developments. Have you ever let go of an old pain to believe in the future? Your sharing is a huge motivation for our channel to accumulate and grow every day. A year after the historic concert night, the Brooklyn Community Music School has transformed. No longer the dilapidated building with peeling walls. The Save the Music School posters have been replaced by vibrant banners. Brooklyn Music Haven, where melodies heal. The outdoor stage where Ava Caldwell once overcame her fears has become a community center, with a new piano sparkling under the New York summer sun. Vivian Caldwell stands in front of the stage in an elegant blue suit, gazing tenderly at Ava, now 15, as she guides a group of children in playing the piano. Vivian murmurs, You did it, Ava. Her daughter's journey, from a silent girl burdened by inherited fears to a star of Brooklyn, allowed her to let go of the painful past of Daniel Reed and her father, Edward. But she didn't expect that today, a new moment would open up a bright future for the whole family. The music school, now named Brooklyn Music Haven, has become a symbol of hope thanks to donations from last year's concert. Ethan Brooks, no longer the failed prodigy, stands in the center of the room, teaching a bustling piano class with an energetic voice. Come on, tell a story with your music. He looks at Ava, now volunteering as a teaching assistant, and smiles proudly. The promise to his father, to help others through piano, has come true through Ava, who made him rediscover his passion. Zoe Turner, now the center's director, enters with a new sign: Free piano classes for Brooklyn children. She shouts, Ethan, Ava, we did it! Brooklyn Music Haven will live on. Ethan winks, teasing, Zoe, does your cat want to learn piano? Ava can teach it. Zoe bursts out laughing. Hey, genius, my cat has been Ava's VIP fan for a long time. Ava blushes, her clear laughter brightening the room. Ava, in a light blue sweater with a silver bracelet from her mom, stands before the piano guiding a small boy to play his first note. She remembers the concert night, when the stage lights made her tremble. But her mother's eyes, Ethan's and Zoe's, pulled her out of the darkness. The fears inherited from her grandfather Edward and father Daniel, whom she never met, no longer constrict her. Ava murmurs, I've chosen my path. She opens an old notebook, now filled with new entries. Teach piano to children. Study music at Lincoln Center. Compose my own music. Ava takes a deep breath, looks at Vivian in the corner of the room, and smiles. She knows her mother has let go of the past, and together they are writing the future. Vivian that morning meets Dr. Lena Hayes at a cafe near Central Park, carrying an old box of documents. Lena, with silver hair and gentle eyes, listens to Vivian talk about Ava and Brooklyn Music Haven. "Vivian, you helped Ava overcome her hereditary fears," Lena says. "Daniel and Edward ran away, but Ava chose to face them, thanks to you and Ethan. You should be proud." Vivian nods, eyes welling up. "I blamed Daniel for so many years, but Ava made me understand. I don't need to hold on to that pain anymore." Lena holds her hand. "You've not only saved Ava, but also yourself. And the music center. It's a legacy for both of you." Vivian smiles lightly, deciding to fund Brooklyn Music Haven long-term as she supports Ava's dreams. At the center, Ava finishes teaching and runs to hug her mom. "Mom, I taught a little boy to play the first note, just like Ethan taught me." Vivian hugs her back, voice shaky. "I'm proud, Ava. You're my light." Ethan approaches, voice enthusiastic. "Ms. Caldwell, Ava is the star of the center. She wants to study at Lincoln Center, and I bet she'll make Brooklyn proud." Vivian looks at Ethan, her eyes grateful. "Mr. Brooks, thank you. Not only for Ava, but for helping me believe again." Ethan smiles softly, but his eyes show a hint of contemplation, as if wanting to say something. Zoe jumps in, holding a new sign. "Hey everyone, we're about to start free violin classes. Ms. Caldwell, do you want to try again?" Vivian is stunned, remembering the violin she abandoned over 20 years ago out of fear of failure, like her father, Edward. Ava holds her mother's hand, voice small. "Mom, I want to hear you play." Vivian trembles slightly but smiles. "I will try." The whole room applauds. Zoe shouts, "Wow, this mother-daughter duo will make my cat jealous." Ethan winks. "Zoe, your cat will have to wait in line behind Ava and Ms. Caldwell." Laughter echoes, lighting up the center. That night, Vivian and Ava return home, together opening an old box in the living room. Inside is Vivian's violin, dusty yet beautiful. Vivian runs her hand over the strings, remembering playing the violin beside her father before Edward's fears took him away. Ava sits beside her, voice gentle. "Mom, I'll play piano. You play violin, okay?" Vivian nods, eyes welling up. "All right, Ava. We'll play together." She picks up the violin, draws the first note, trembling but clear, as if unlocking a closed door. Brooklyn Music Haven continues to shine under the Brooklyn lights. Ava, now a piano student at Lincoln Center, teaches children for free every weekend. Ethan, with his bustling piano classes, begins composing again, fulfilling the promise to his father. Vivian, playing the violin beside Ava, becomes the main sponsor of the center, turning it into a healing place for hundreds of children. Zoe, with her cat, still teases Ethan, but the center is now home to all of Brooklyn. Ava, Vivian, and Ethan's story, like a piece of music, reminds us that fear, whether inherited or from the past, cannot extinguish the light if we dare to play the first note. They have overcome the darkness, leaving a brilliant legacy, and Ava's future, like a melody, will continue to resonate. Do you think Ava will become a famous pianist? Or will she write a piece of music for the whole world? Share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to True Millionaire Moments to catch more heart-touching stories. Every audience member like you is a flame, lighting up grand dreams. We love you all very much.